right, we're about to watch ANIKHA GREER crush workout number 1 from the 2025 CrossFit Games online semifinal.
First in the world in this workout.
She got first in the world on this workout. As of right now, she is 5th in the world, which means she unofficially got her first invite to the CrossFit Games after us working very hard for 3 years to get there. Well done. We were one spot out for a couple years, and this was a nice triumphant weekend. I got Travis Mayer here with me, Big Trav, who also did the online semifinal. And yeah, let's talk about this workout now.
Let's start off by just saying watching this was very, very impressive. I think even from seeing this on paper, she knew this was going to be a home run.
Yeah, so this workout, as we're kind of talking about the weekend, this was Saturday. So the workout competition started on Thursday. We did 2 workouts on Thursday, came in on Friday.
Which ones did you do?
We started off with Isabel. That went great. Then we did the burpee interval workout. We weren't entirely sure how that went. It was like well executed, but a little bit worried about the score. Then we came in the next day and did the 30-minute row workout. That was not the greatest execution, and we also knew it was going to kind of be a, not the greatest workout. We decided to take the end of Friday off, and we came in with 2 workouts left where we knew we kind of had home run potential. So we saved those for last, and she was like super fired up and super ready to crush this. So it was cool to watch, and also like it was.
So this was on Saturday or Friday?
Yeah, this was Saturday morning.
Why did you save
session.
home runs for last?
Well, it was kind of her decision as to what to do. We just thought that the amount of squatting and the amount of pulling that she would have to do in this workout would influence negatively the other workouts. And the overhead position and the GHDs were going to potentially, make the shoulders tired, which would impact some of the other workouts. So it was a combination of trying to figure out like what was going to get her sore and fatigued, and wanting to prioritize the ability to do repeats, which meant if we saved her worst workouts for last, there would have to be back-to-back days to repeat them. So it kind of just played out that way for her specifically, which was different than maybe some other people.
Yeah, I mean, she definitely, even from the beginning of the whole time, like, I think the snatch one impressed herself a little bit by a big shock of what she did. And then it just seemed like the momentum and honestly the mindset for her definitely shifted relative to some other weekends we've like seen in the past, where she just kind of like sometimes gets in her own head a little bit. And I think this time
she was on.
Yeah, and I think like she was just like in a very even keel, kind of like good headspace, I feel like all weekend. And it was definitely cool to kind of like see her finally like just kind of like own up to that and like stay at that level kind of like all weekend and in good headspace.
Yeah, so I mean, this has been an interesting project to work on, because most of the people that I've had who made the CrossFit Games were like there in the first year of me working with them, or had previously already been CrossFit Games athletes. We have been working for 3 years now to try to get this breakthrough here. And a lot of the work that I think she did was really between her ears to be a better, more mindful competitor. And she's done such a good job of trying to address how she stays present, how she deals with good workouts versus bad workouts, setting appropriate expectations, stepping up under pressure, knowing that you have to do it on game day. And before I even knew where she finished on the leaderboard, that was actually the text message that I sent to her about how proud I was of just how she conducted herself as a professional. And multiple other people that were here supporting also mentioned that. So I think it's a noticeable thing. And, that's kind of what I could talk about all the training progressions we did to make her more fit along the way. But really, I think the primary thing was her own self-belief and approach to these workouts. So well done, ANIKHA. Still proud of you.
You did good.
Still proud. All right, now back to the workout. We knew that this workout was going to be dense handstand push-up volume. So I think it was 45 to get through the set.
Handstand push-up.
Sorry.
I was
sorry.
like,
Sorry.
These are muscle-ups.
Muscle-ups. I forgot
This
what
is
I'm
actually
talking
Max's
about.
first competition. He's never
I don't
actually
even
been
know
to
what
one of
this
these.
movement is. Travis,
These are called muscle-ups.
Travis looked at me like I had a horn on my head. Now it makes sense. With dense muscle-up volume. And to finish the 15s was 45 muscle ups. To finish the 18s was 63 muscle ups. So that was kind
Good
of
job on your math.
Yeah, that was the target to get through that set of 18. But that, again, kind of leads back to Chris's question as to why we didn't start with this one first. We just thought that could be potentially damaging to other workouts, doing 63 squats at that heavy weight and 63 muscle ups.
But when she's squatting, she makes it look like it's 65 pounds, and then she's literally just floating on all of these.
Yeah, the muscle ups were really well done and executed well. And we had actually tried to convince her to break the muscle ups a little bit more than she did. We were saying maybe break the 6s and do 3-3-3 for the 9s. And then kind of once you get past the 12s and into the 15s, you got to kind of go by feel. But as you'll see as she goes through this, she stayed pretty big on her set sizes. Like she did 5-5-5 for the set of 15, which a lot of people. Do you remember what you did, Travis, for the 15s? I think there were sets of
5 or 6, and then
there was like a 3-2 to finish.
yeah,
I think a smaller
maybe like
set
a
to finish.
4, then 3-2.
Yeah. So not only did she keep her set sizes pretty big, but I think the real impressive thing was that her rest breaks between these things were just very small. And then her just cycle speed here. I watched a bunch of people do these squats. They got pretty nasty. They lit up people's backs, and they stood at the top for like 2 seconds a rep.
Myself included.
Yeah. So her overall, when we looked at this workout, we knew that this could be one that she just crushed. She's got very good squat strength and positions and size profile, very good handstand walking speed, and very good muscle ups. So she went into it confident and, took a little bit of a risk, and it ended up being number 1 in the world.
That was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah. It was also, I feel like, a little demoralizing.
It really was.
The other people who
I'll
in
say
the gym,
I felt demoralized. I'll just go ahead and say it. I did this right before her to preface how this was.
Yeah.
And I think our experiences were a little different. This, for me, is probably like not my best workout, not something that I'm going to be more damage control. And then just watching her fly through the 15s, I was like, well, you can just break this up more. That would like really help me feel better about myself.
Yeah, she got I forget where she was in the workout. It's probably somewhere like in 2 or 3 minutes.
I think she
from
hit
now.
into the 15s, and we were just like, all
yeah,
right.
I was like, oh, she's 2.5 minutes ahead of where you were.
Yeah,
and I didn't know if that was like, oh my God, ANIKHA is crushing this so much, or if that meant
I was
Travis
just so
bombed
bad.
at that point.
I think it was a combination of both.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah,
she
remember-
crushed it, and then I blew up.
Remember when you had a first place workout and they took it away from you?
I've
and gave
had
it to
like 3
Frazier?
of those. Literally
Oh, I
had
do
3 of
remember
those,
that,
and
yeah.
they've taken them away. But it's okay. It's all right. Doesn't matter. Let it go now.
Yep. All right, back to ANIKHA.
Yeah.
Doing muscle ups, flying
I mean,
away
she
here.
does catch high on every single one of them.
Yeah, she catches high, and it's really, I think, only the last couple of every set where she even does a full dip. And usually when she does it, she has that little like pause and kick up to lock out. It seems like a really good rhythm to hold for her. And if she has to do, I guess, high volume ring dips or high volume press outs, it can become a little bit of a limitation. But she's so good at high volume muscle up sets that she really never gets to the point where she's having to go through the failure point of the dip.
Do you know what her max set is on muscle ups?
I don't know. I mean, ANIKHA's been a really interesting person to coach because I've written training progressions and all of the things that are her biggest priorities. And we don't really train to improve her strengths that much. But it seems like even just doing more running and more endurance work just makes all of this stuff better. So we haven't really collected a lot of data on like 30 muscle ups for time or 50 for time because she's already an outlier in them. We've spent a lot more time. Like the row workout, for example, to her finish pretty well on this is a major victory in terms of having training progressions pay out in her doing well relative to an elite field in a 30-minute workout that has multiple 1Ks in there.
I'm gonna be honest, I'm just annoyed watching how fast she's squatting this
Oh,
right now.
she's just fucking
You know what was
up
cool
and
though
down.
is like you can see in the background everyone's kind of training, doing their thing, but it was cool to see as the workout progressed, people stopped doing what they were
doing. They just
and
come over and
because they
start
knew
watching.
Shit was going down.
Yeah, I think also people that were aware of where other people's scores were started to realize they're like, oh, she's in the set of 18? Like, what?
Yeah,
She's-
like, oh, she is getting very far in this.
Yeah, we thought, we had heard that there were people in the 18 squats So that means they finished the 18 muscle ups and got into the squats. So we were kind of thinking, hey, let's try to finish the set of 18 from a muscle up perspective and get some of these squats, because she's super confident in squatting that if she had some time, we knew she could kind of bang out a set. I didn't really anticipate that we'd be farther than that. It's not really a spoiler alert because you guys have the leaderboard, but she got through not just the 18 muscle ups, but then the 18 squats, handstand walk, and then how many muscle ups?
Stay tuned.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to spoiler alert myself.
Yeah.
We'll find
Like,
out in 5
forget.
minutes. I can't even
I thought it
remember
was a
anymore.
couple, but maybe one. I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Like
I just
3?
know, yeah, 3 sounds right.
Does it?
Yeah,
I don't feel like you
it
actually
sounds
know.
right.
3 or 4?
You
I'm
thought
not
she
a
was doing, you thought
trustworthy
she was doing
narrator.
handstand
Yeah.
push-ups, so let's just think about that for a minute.
Yeah, I was actually surprised. We're not kind of announcing this workout necessarily, but it was only 30 feet of handstand walk. But because she got so deep in the workout, and I think her back started to tighten up from the combo of all the movements, there were a couple like handstand sets where I was like, oh my God, I thought she was going to fall over, and they looked just harder
Yeah, you
than I
don't
anticipated.
think about it because it's like, oh, it's only 15 feet. But then when you start to just add it up after doing 9 rounds of that, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is a lot of handstand walking.
Yeah, for sure. Solid. And rest breaks here. I'll pay attention to the
03?
time. Yeah, I think she was about coming off back to the floor around 11:03.
Yeah, I feel like getting into that, this would be now the 18s, right? This was in the 18s?
No, this is the.
No,
this is the.
This would be the 18s.
Yeah, this is
so
the
in the round of
muscle up
18,
set.
like this is where it definitely just, the amount of ring muscle ups catches up to you, right? So you've already pretty much done, for her at this point, almost already
She's
50
over 50
reps.
muscle ups in 10
So-
and 11 minutes.
And 50 back squats. Right, so it just starts to add up a lot, but the position that she's still keeping, the rest breaks are still pretty quick, is very impressive. And watching this again, I'm still very impressed.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you got to do to be best in the world score on things. You just got to kind of stay on top of it. And I think there were a couple other girls that were like in the, well, I know there were a couple other girls that were in that back squat set and through some of the handstand walks and in back near those muscle ups. But these were kind of outlier scores to be done with the 18s.
How do you think this workout would be different if it played out as a race, like on a competition floor? Does it change very much?
No.
I
I don't think
yeah,
a lot. I think these movements for most people, like these
Too
are going to be up.
bottlenecky?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just going to be like, this is definitely up her alley, right?
Yeah.
Like that's like throwing a wall ball row double under to me. I think it's like probably still going to be the same performance I'm going to go if I'm racing somebody or if I'm going by myself.
I would say, though, that the caveat would be I think more people would have done worse on this one if it were a race in person, because I think more people would have blown up. Whereas, like,
And
if
raced.
she was just sitting there and she was looking off camera talking. She was talking to Perrin and talking to myself about her rest breaks there. And when you're on a competition floor and there's all sorts of people around and music, I think people like naturally push the pace earlier in a workout. Whereas when we were here,
Who does that?
It was, you know who. It was here, it was controlled. We had time to process and make a game plan that allowed her to stay smooth. Whereas if she was next to the other 10 best in the world, she might have just been like, I'm going unbroken through, you know, the 12s and tried to hang on the lead too early.
Yeah, I think it could also go both ways though, because I think
Yeah.
sometimes you could have it where it's like everybody is racing and it's like, all right, maybe she gets 7 muscle ups and that set of 21 where
Yeah, like
because
could have
those
pulled you
breaks are
faster.
going out a little quicker than what you want. And I think sometimes just seeing, or if you're in the last heat, knowing, hey, these are the targets to be, you can kind of gauge it off of that. But I think to Max's point, it can definitely go either way.
On that note, are we hoping that in future years we do away with this and this was just a one-time thing, or we liking that you can get game spots from qualifiers?
I'm
online?
okay with game spots and online qualifiers. I just don't think it should be the bulk of them, and I think there should be more opportunities. Like, I'm not a real big fan of like Syndicate, for example, is only North American East athletes. I feel like I'm more of the opinion that we should be in more of a sanctional model, that you say, hey, there's 30 spots out and about at these competitions. Anyone can show up, and then maybe there's another 10 from the online. It seems like the online.
I feel like it
is-
should almost be the opposite. There should be more from in person that are
Yeah.
there competing versus people online that can kind of
They took 11
rig
here?
things
Yeah,
or do
took
things,
11.
right? So if you took 5 from online and then you gave those other 6 spots to in person, I think is probably more of a
Or let's say
equal.
they continue doing this. Would you prefer it be like that COVID year where you had to submit workouts per day?
Yes, I would like that, and I'd like a little bit more media about like scores and where people were. This
like
was
if it
very
was like first 2 workouts are released, then for day 1, then the leaderboard's published.
Yeah, you could have
And
some
then
drama.
Day
some
2,
hype.
same thing, and then the final workout on day 3. 1.
Yeah, she did get a.
2.
Her face before she started this muscle upset was in real pain.
She didn't look very happy either. Like, why did you guys make
Did
me
I call
do
it?
that?
Was it 3?
Yeah, it was
It was
3.
3.
You got
Let's
it.
go.
Yeah, I love that she knew like right off the
She's
bat
like-
that it was a good score. That
Very well done, Annika.
Way to go. Absolutely crushed it.
Heading to the games. First time, baby.
crushed it not only here but also overall in the weekend. Well done. Very proud.
We're happy for you.
Happy to have been there to serve.
You look like you're serving. Look at you just sitting there, sitting on the ground, doing a lot, scratching your
I
knee.
should've
Oh,
said
well, that
watch.
seemed like that was a good performance.
It was.
Everyone's giving her high fives. And you're like, nah.
Yeah, I
Ah,
was letting
fine.
her. Yeah, I was letting her recover. I
Fine,
knew she
I'll-
was dying. I actually walked over to Travis to talk shit. I think.
You did. You did. I think we were actually talking about how impressive that was.
Yeah, that was just
And
so well done.
how demoralizing that just made me feel. So, and I think I said it right there. Way to go.
Are we done? Are we still talking?
Yeah, we could be done. See you guys.
Bye.